beautiful people? I'm Erin, and this is Erin on Demand. And today we are talking about how to create lazy girl content, which is basically my way of saying low effort content that still performs well, but won't have you burnt out and tired and drained and all them other things. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, I know a lot of people really struggle with being consistent with creating content because you feel like it takes so much time, so much energy. You need so much gear. You've got to have all of these things together in order to create good content, but that is just simply not true. So let me go into some types of content, give you some inspiration on how you can create really good content without just driving yourself crazy. Okay, so let's get into it. Number one is always keep your storylines simple. This is also a really good tip for short form content because the simpler the storyline, the easier it is to hook the audience early on and for them to watch the entire thing. So instead of doing an entire day in the life, you could do a morning in the life with a toddler, or a morning in the life of a makeup artist, or, keeping your storylines really simple, or your husband's reaction to X, Y, and Z. Don't try to pack too much into one piece of content to where you have to overshoot, then you have to spend a ton of time editing, and you end up not really being consistent because of the time that you feel like it's going to take you. So whether it's long form or short form, the best thing to do when you want to create great content, but you ain't got all the time and energy in the world, then keep your storylines simple. Number two is video podcasting. Now, I know video podcasting sounds like it has to be a full-on production and you need all this gear and these cameras and these mics and all of these things. You don't. You honestly don't even need a set. I've seen really successful video podcasts that the host just takes their mic wherever they are, whether it's their bedroom, their hotel room, it doesn't matter. They kind of just like make that the expectation. And this is the thing about lazy girl content and creating content that doesn't stress you out is you set the tone early on. So if you already set the tone and you have this beautiful production and this beautiful set, then that is something that you're going to have to keep up with. But if you set the tone early on with your audience that this is casual content, this is the style that I'm going for, then they will learn to love it. They honestly won't have a choice. So with video podcasting, one way that you can make this super easy, a reason why I think it is a great form of lazy girl content is because, for one, you can record one podcast and get so much short form content out of it that is so easy to repurpose. And I love Riverside for this very reason. And this portion of the video is sponsored by Riverside because outside of podcasting, they have some really, really cool features inside of Riverside that can make creating content so much easier. So some of my favorite features in Riverside are, for one, magic clips. Now, this is a game changer. You can upload your video podcasts, or honestly any video in general, and Riverside will use AI to figure out what are the best parts of this to create a short form clip. It will automatically reformat into vertical, and it actually grabs really good clips. Plus, you can edit out pauses, and you can add auto-generated captions that can be customized for your brand colors, different font options. So it is like a really cool feature to throw your videos inside of Riverside, click that magic clips button, and see how many clips it generates based off of the content that you put in there. Super powerful tool, and honestly one of the best that I've seen with grabbing clips, because that is such a huge way to promote a video podcast. And it's also a great way if you're lazy and don't feel like going through your entire podcast and editing out those shorts and reformatting them. This is such an easy way to do that while still grabbing really good quality content. They also have a feature called AI show notes. So if you are putting your video podcast on YouTube, you can just just copy and paste these show notes that it generates based off of what it hears you talking about in the podcast and pop those into your YouTube description. You can pop those into your Spotify or whatever platform you're streaming your podcast on, and your show notes are done. So they have some really cool features that make content creation so much easier. And like I said, you don't even have to have a video podcast to use these features. You can honestly edit and use these features without even having a video podcast. So if you're interested in trying out Riverside, use code ONDEMAND for 15% off and click the link in the description box below. Thanks Riverside for sponsoring this part of the video. Next favorite is fly on the wall content. And this is basically when you just put your camera up and capture yourself in your natural environment and kind of see what happens. Now, the reason why I call this fly on the wall content is because you might remember that your camera is rolling for the first minute or two, but after about 5-6 minutes, you're gonna forget and you're gonna really let yourself loose. And if you have a house or a home or a family dynamic, or you have friends around and you guys are just like really vibing and you have a great dynamic, this kind of content really works well, I would say, for like family channels, lifestyle vloggers or bloggers, because you can really capture those honest moments that you really cannot make up. So this is going to have your camera roll kind of steep. You know, you might forget and have 20 minutes worth of footage that you've got to watch, but you're not taking time to like actually record. You're just recording what is naturally going on. And you might have a little bit of extra time to sift through that and kind of pick out what makes the most sense to post. And sometimes with fly on the wall content, you don't really get anything good. So there's a little bit of risk factor with this, but overall, this is just such a great way to capture memories and to bottle them up into good little pieces of content. Next form of content are duets or reaction videos. And these are easy simply because you don't have to think about what you're creating about. You're just kind of giving your take on something. I've even seen people do duets and reactions just like nodding their head, agreeing with something, like they're barely even talking. Now, obviously, if this isn't your style of content, then I get it. But you can always find interesting perspectives on things in your industry, different takes, especially if you're a professional in an industry. You can give your 2 cents on something that you've seen on social media. I see a lot of nutritionists and dietitians reacting to different food videos that are going viral, or even doctors reacting to things that, are relevant to their industry, like how to induce labor, people bouncing on balls and things. And you'll see doctors reacting like, oh, this works, this doesn't work, this works, this doesn't work. And so I think, you kind of have to find your groove with your niche or whatever category of content you create within that make these duets and reactions relevant for your content. But otherwise, I think that these are great ways to keep your content moving without feeling the need to always come up with your own unique ideas. The next one is green screens, which is very similar to the last strategy, but green screens are also a great way to really interact your community without feeling the need to shoot a whole bunch of content. Like if you have a screenshot of something, or if you saw something recently in current events, or if there is, you're doing like a little analysis of something and you just have a couple screenshots, and you just green screen it. You don't have to think too hard. You don't have to be all done up. You can just kind of be in whatever state you're in and talk about that subject. I think green screens are such a great way to be interactive, but also if you don't have like a full-on set and you don't feel like getting dressed for the day and putting on makeup and doing all the things that you think are necessary to create good content, green screens really take the focus off of you and put the focus more on whatever it is that you're showcasing. My next tip is to create a series that you can just kind of plug and chug things into. So I've had a few series that perform really well. The thing about series though is that you have to keep them going, which is the part that I'm not the best at. But I have a series called This Caught My Eye, where when I'm out and about at stores or wherever I am, talking about why the branding of a business caught my eye and just kind of doing a little analysis of that. And it is such a fun series, but it's like you can constantly be plugging and chugging something into a series without having to think about the concept or coming up with new ideas all the time. And that's the thing, you guys, like coming up with new content ideas over and over and over again is most of the battle of why it can be difficult to create content. It's just because your brain is constantly trying to think of new ideas. You don't have to always think of new ideas. Let me just clear the slate on that. And that's honestly something that I'm working on too. But think of a series that you know your audience, maybe it's something that you've already done before and it performed really well. And you're like, okay, I can spin this into a series. I can start doing these over and over and over again, maybe from a slightly different angle or plugging and chugging something else into it. And you'll be surprised at how well it works. And it really builds your brand fast. My next tip is just simple old, classic old, talk to the camera videos. You do not have to have all the bells and whistles. Selfie style videos are just fine. And honestly, those are some of my favorite to watch and some of my favorite people to follow that I'm like most loyal followers of are ones who just get on and talk. And I know for some people this drives a lot of anxiety because it's like, oh my gosh, it's so right there in my face. And like, what do I say? But if you are somebody who's really good at just kind of riffing off the top of your head, sharing your opinions on things, some of the biggest creators have like little car series where they're just in the car talking right to the camera while they're sitting in the parking lot eating Chick-fil-A or doing whatever they do. But they have really strong opinions and they're able to engage just from talking to the camera. So I think it's definitely a strategy worth trying. And then lastly is to create a B-roll library. This is where if you do have a film day, you have another camera rolling where you are getting behind the scenes footage of yourself doing different tasks, even simple tasks like washing the dishes, cooking dinner, making your bed, getting ready for the day, driving, well, maybe not driving, stay focused, cleaning your house, all of these different clips that you can save into a B-roll library and you can just add text onto the top of them. You can even get some, writing in a journal or making your morning coffee, sipping your coffee, like whatever it is that you do, like documenting all of that. Whether it's vertical or horizontal, I would do these things called pod vlogs where I would put a whole bunch of clips together and then just voice over them as a podcast style vlog for YouTube. But you can also do that for Instagram. You can take one of those shots, put a really great quote or text on top of it, and have a simple single shot B-roll reel or TikTok. And a lot of times those perform really well. You can slap some music on it and you're done. So having that stock of B-roll that you can draw from, especially when you are really busy, but you want to keep the presence on social media, having that B-roll library and just writing out a few themes or a few quotes that you think are great for going on top of some of these clips. And then you can have really easy content that you can schedule out and it can just be kind of rolling for you. So I hope you realize that there are ways to create content where you don't have to be exerting so much energy. And even sometimes if that means you're batching one good piece of content like a video podcast or spending one full day getting 25 clips of B-roll, it's going to save you so much time in the long run. So really consider these strategies if you are a lazy girl or somebody who just wants to create content but just really doesn't have the time or the energy or just doesn't want to spend so much money investing in so many things in order to get started. You got this. You got this. Let me know in the comments which tip you think is something you're going to try out, and I will see you on the next one. Also, if y'all have any tips, leave them in the comments because we love a good synergy community powwow. So I want to know if you guys have any lazy girl content creation tips in the comments as well. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.